What is your most "this is not happening" moment? I was getting ready to jump in the shower to go work for a few hours when I heard a knock on the door. I had a pair of gym shorts on, so I went and answered it, and to my amazement, there were a bunch of cops outside. They told me they had had a complaint of loud noise and possibly domestic violence. I just laughed and said no, that's not here as I live alone, and they said well that's okay. One of them asked me if I had any ID on me so they could go about their business, and I said sure. My wallet was on the wall, right by the door, and so I pulled my ID out and handed it to one of the officers. He looked at it, and asked me if I could step outside. Again I kind of chuckled and said yeah, no problem. As soon as I stepped out of the door of my house, the other officer said turn around, put your hands behind your back. I looked at him kind of funny and I said what for? He said turn around, so I turned around. I put my hands behind my back. Suddenly I felt handcuffs. As they set me down in front of the house on my bench, I asked one of the other officers what this was all about. He said there's a warrant out for your arrest. Now mind you, I have never been in any kind of trouble at all in my life, and so again, I kind of chuckled. I said what kind of warrant? The officer said I don't know, it's from out of state. Now I'm starting to get a little freaked out, so the officer leads me into the car. All I have is my gym shorts and flip-flops and my cell phone. That of course was taken from me. As we're driving to the jail about 45 minutes later, I asked the officer what this is all about. He said I really don't know, it's an out-of-state warrant, and we've got to take you to jail. And it looks like there's a no bond clause on this warrant, which means until I figure out what this is I'm stuck there. I was put into a holding cell with about 15 gangbangers in Fort Lauderdale Broward County Jail. About 11 that night was transferred to a holding jail, given a 2-inch mattress and a blanket, and told to go to sleep on the floor. At this point I've asked probably 4 or 5 officers what's going on and nobody seems to know. I haven't seen an attorney and I don't have any telephone numbers memorized. Stupid smartphones. So the next day I ask an officer again what's going on and how do I find out. He comes back and simply says it's an out-of-state warrant. You'll have to wait to see the judge. I said I want to access my cell phone so I can find some numbers and call somebody. At that point they told me they won't let me unless there's a court order. Here's where it gets really bad, as if it wasn't bad enough already. I don't see a judge for 8 days. Yep, you read that right. I'm 8 days in jail not having any idea why. Not seeing an attorney and having no access to call anyone. I finally see a judge on the 8th day, and he tells me it's an out-of-state warrant, and again he doesn't know what it's for and I have a choice. I can fight extradition, or I can concede to extradition. If I fight I'm going to probably be there for 60 days minimum, and possibly be let out. If I concede I could be there another 45 days before they take me to the other state. So I conceded and I asked him for the court order to access my phone. The judge says he's never heard of having to have a court order to access a cell phone, but reluctantly gives one. On the 9th day, as I asked to again access my phone, I'm told that they're not going to allow me to access my phone, even though they have a court order because the phone battery is dead. Now, I don't know what to do. This is the 9th day, and it turns into the 10th, and 11th, and 12th etc. On the 23rd day no one in the world knows where I am. I'm assuming my kids probably think I'm dead, as they live in another state. North Carolina shows up to extradite me on the 23rd day. During this 48-hour trip where I'm shackled hand and foot in the back of a van, I finally convinced one of the officers that is driving to access their Facebook account and message a friend of mine to try to get a phone number. They do that, and of course my friend thinks it's a scam. Finally I gave him information that only I would know and I get a phone number. On the 25th day in North Carolina, I finally found out what the charge is. Former client of mine from 4 years prior in a business that I had and signed over to another partner, have accused me of taking $20,000 and fleeing the state. I laughed again. But not real hard this time, because this was getting real. As I'm booked into their jail I'm trying to figure out what to do. The next day I finally saw an attorney. He doesn't have too much information for me, but tells me what the charge entails and what the possibilities are for sentencing and things like that. A few days later he comes back with what they call discovery, which is evidence on me from the district attorney's side. As we went through that I found no evidence at all pointing any kind of criminal activity to me, which of course I knew because I hadn't done anything.